All right. Hello. Hello. What's going on, everybody? Another. Okay. Sorry. It was something popped up on my screen. I thought it was an error message for the recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Another week down. Another week up. Got a little bit of an interesting one. I guess this you can give some perspective on this because the times have changed since you were, you know, a young buck, I guess is how you people say it. Um, but but apparently this past week there were it was a group, but it's more so like one person went out of the country to a foreign, I guess, foreign nation, foreign country, whatever you want to say, Dubai, basically. And you and I both know how Dubai operates as far as the opposite gender, women, things like that. So, for context, for those that are out there listening, it was a young woman who went out there and basically was just being, I guess the word would be obnoxious, or just like not noticing how the culture is there, essentially. And she ended up being detained. There's more to that, but we'll talk about the first half first. And I guess, old man, I don't know how you. Yeah, I said it. I don't know how you. I don't know how you want to provide your input on that. I mean, because I don't know how your people, you guys in the day used to do it when it came to traveling and things like that.
Well, the thing is basic culture differences. What you're allowed to do here, that doesn't necessarily mean you're allowed to do it someplace else.
Right.
And it doesn't mean the fact that you could do it here that it's a good thing anyway. It's all about respect. And when you talk about, and remember we talked about in the last podcast that spiritual, it's a spiritual side. Most people have those views, have those values, and Dubai is one of those countries. They follow a strict set of laws, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not correct, it's based on their godly principles,
Hmm.
how they worship. And a woman just doesn't curse or yell in a man's face.
Hmm.
It doesn't look good here either. You know, back in the day, you didn't see that. Now you see it every other time. I mean, just it's the norm.
Right.
But back in the day, you didn't see that. You didn't see women jumping in men's face.
Right. And for the most part, I'm in agreement with you, and I felt like this is how it was going to go for this week,
Mhm.
for what the circumstances were. I'm more along the side of, if you're going someplace out of the state, another country, wherever the case may be, you should at least do some sort of research, like some basic understanding of what goes on there, at least, so that way you're not you're not doing anything dumb to get yourself in trouble. At least that's how I look at it. You just take 5 minutes and just learn the
And
base.
on that list, women stay in a certain place,
Right.
and you got to cover yourself a certain. So, like you said, yeah, the rules are there.
Mhm.
They give it to you up front. If you choose to read it or not, is up to you.
Right.
But
And
they need to use those laws here.
well, I mean, hey, that's a that's something
It
totally
probably makes
different.
things a whole lot better around here, So it's this. I'm gonna use your term. This young people's term, the
Hmm.
gray area. That gray area doesn't float around all around the world. That
Right.
gray area is only here in the United States. That's it.
Well, I mean, we probably could get some people from like the UK or something. I think the UK kind of follows a little bit closely to what we do for
Yeah,
certain
that's
things.
why I thought about Dubai.
Right. I mean, hey, a lot. I mean, that's a tourist attraction, and I guess I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure a majority of people that go don't do the cover up and everything like that. And I get that. I understand that portion, but it's the whole like I don't know. I would have to see the the enactment between the two people to determine what
Right.
happened. But it's just like I think
It doesn't matter what the interaction.
no, but I'm saying like sometimes you get social clues. Like if you talk to somebody and then they don't
Right.
say something back to you, then it's kind of like yeah, you may you may think they're being rude, but you also got to think about where you're at, and like especially if you're of the opposite gender. So
That's correct.
that's what I'm saying. Like those social clues that you may get when you're out there. But apparently, the second part to this, there's a two-parter, is that he was part of a not a pyramid scheme, but just a group of people that were trying to run a scam, essentially.
Hmm.
And so her being detained kind of shines some light on that in her group. So it was kind of like you brought it on yourself, and I really don't feel bad for what you did. If you were trying to scam some people out of stuff, but and then you don't know the laws of the land.
Oh, see, only thing I know about that, which that's new, is getting up into a grown man's face, aggressively, loud, what have you, which causes you to get put in jail. And I look back on it based on what I've been saying, the old fashioned values and the old way of respect. A lot of times this thing is being overlooked as a child, or it's a behavior that's not this is not a one off. This is a normal pattern of handling situations.
Right.
If that's your nature, that's what you're going to do. If that's how you handle situations, that's what you're going to do. If you handle the situation with, calmness and you can say what you have to say, but you don't have to be loud. You don't have to be offensive and, and get your point across. But if that's your norm and that's that you've been doing this on a consistent basis and getting away with it, then it's bound to come to this.
Right.
Scams, that's just even more reason why you're vulnerable to stuff, because it's only going to last but so long
Right.
before you get called out on it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that was pretty much like the current event. But now to this is just something that crossed my mind because I actually saw an episode. I don't know if you've seen this show, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you haven't, it's very relatable. So they had a current, basically to pivot to something more recent. They had a current episode where the guy was basically taking a personal day essentially, and so his most of his gripe was that everything is pretty much streamlined through apps. And when I heard that, I immediately thought about you and some other people that are still kind of not necessarily stuck in their ways, but like the old way how things were done with cash, cash exchanges and things like that. So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about everything moving to apps and basically self service options?
Okay, it's only good when it works.
Hmm.
I mean, let's say something happens with the app, it gets compromised.
Right.
I heard about these cash apps being compromised all the time.
Right, but that's a money exchange. I'm saying more so for like paying. Like I'm saying, like you use your phone, you don't do cash anymore. use your phone to tap your card to pay for it, to pay for your meal, or they tell you to go to the app to place your order or something. I just want to see how you think. Like if you went to a restaurant, like right, if you went to a restaurant and like, hey, our menus on the app, and that's how you order. The waiter came up and told you that. How would you feel? How would you feel? I just want to know how would somebody that is not that is wasn't didn't necessarily grow up in the era that our generation's growing up in, from the outside looking in, how would you feel about that if a waiter told you, like, hey, order your food through the app, and he basically just brings it out to you? Maybe he still does a little bit of the waiter stuff, but majority of your interactions through the app.
Yeah, I've seen that. I went to a restaurant. Yeah, it threw me off, but once they explain, you just scan I guess the barcode,
Mm-hmm.
the the square, and upload the menu. I did it, but I don't see the relevance in doing that. Well, I know but see, I have a technique how I order food from a menu. I'm thinking they're doing it because of germs, transfer of germs from a menu to different hands and things like that, and it's not really clean. But you just order first and then go wash your hands.
Mm-hmm.
But doing the app, I'm just it threw me off. I'm gonna say because I didn't expect it. I wanted to get a menu I can look at, but I did it.
Mm-hmm. You weren't upset or anything, like, why can't I have,
No, I'm upset.
like, okay, because I mean, I know some of them, they try to be more tech savvy as far as like saving. I guess some places are being more conscious about wasting paper and stuff like that, or whatever the case may be, because you're handing out menus. I mean, some places also have them laminated, but
That's right. That's right. We also have laminated, but
right. I just thought it was interesting that everything, when he made that statement that everything is done through an app. I was like, I sat back and thought about it. I was like, you know what? He's not wrong. That's the way everything is going. That everything is pretty much stored on your phone for the most part. Like you can use your phone as your keys to unlock your car and everything like that. So
oh
you
yeah,
don't.
you crank your car up with your
Right.
phone. Yes. Well, some of the guys that I work with, they can do it, but I
Mm.
hadn't downloaded it yet on my phone to
Mhm.
do it. So
Do you like physically
keys
having your
work.
keys?
Keys work. Keys work.
So you physically like having your key? I was about to ask you that. I was like, do you
Keys work.
physically like having your keys there?
The keys work.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, hey, that's.
But you start doing that, okay, they got these devices that can steal your fob information and then
Mhm.
unlock your car and you can steal your car. So I get uh, apps are apps. But I don't I don't look forward to it. I'm still cash, checks.
Mhm.
That's the type of guy. I mean, and the bills get paid, the lights stay on, everything works.
Right.
Uh, App or no app. So
I mean, like I said, I've said it before. I'm still surprised that you said the word check, because I know the
I
only
do.
the
Checks.
only the only the only time that I hear a check is for pay. That's I don't hear anybody saying I gotta write a check or anything like that. I just no, everything is
I
done.
write
It's
it.
just like just bill pay, send it online, send the payment that way. I think it's
The
a
lights off, the water's off. No, no, I'm just
it's just it's a dying use of payment.
I I get it. I get it, but it works for
Mhm.
me. Um, Now eventually they'll probably get it to the point where I have no choice.
And how would you feel about that? Are you gonna go kicking and screaming?
Well, some things
Like,
I do pay online. Some things I do pay online, but if it gets to that point, I'll just adapt like I always have.
hmm, I don't, I
But we
don't,
we do adapt. We
I
do it.
don't, I don't know about all that. I don't know.
Well,
So
you
like,
my bills are going to be
a
paid.
select percentage of you adapt. A select percentage of you
You don't
adapt.
think I'm gonna pay my bills, you know? So
A select percentage
I,
of you adapt. I'll say that. I'm not going to say all because I've seen somewhere it's just like they call in and ask the most redundant question. It's just like, hey, if you just take a second to look, you'll figure it out.
but see, that's the thing. You got to have patience,
Mm-hmm.
and that's is lacking in this new society, this gray area. I'm gonna call it the gray area because that's what you call it.
Mm-hmm.
That you got to have patience. Um, Even though you're familiar with something, somebody else might not. So to get to that point, you got to have some, because it's frustrating enough to know that something that you know works, they want to change it to something new that you don't have a clue about, and then they're gonna be frustrated that you don't know about it.
Right. Well, I mean, I hear that, but also the most frustrating thing is sometimes they just don't read. They just call, yeah, you know it. That's why you sitting there smiling. They don't read. They just get it and be like, oh, okay. And they don't read the directions or how to use it. And the first thing they do is call somebody. And then they may be not saying that it's a waste of time, but they may be potentially taking away from somebody that actually needs help or something.
Well, if they got an app, why do they even need help?
All I'm saying
Why
is
do you even have a help desk? Why even have help? Because this
you're
app
gonna
is
you're
so
gonna need to have a
this
you're gonna
app
need to
can
have a
do
help desk. What do
everything,
you
right?
mean?
I know, but when I write that check, I don't have to worry about,
Yes,
oh,
you
it's
do. Yes, you do. When that check gets lost, yes, you do. When that check gets lost in the mail,
I
and you
can
get that
tell.
call, you get that call from the gas company. Hey, we need payment by X and X date. Oh, you're not writing another check.
And during COVID, I ran into some issues like that because the mail system was slow
Mm-hmm.
and things were being routed all over. But a telephone call corrected that,
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about these apps, they got a help desk. You got people calling about questions. So
Mm-hmm.
how good is this app when I can just write a check or get a cashier's check and mail it off, and I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it drafted out of my account. But you get this app. Oh, this app from it's they're doing some work on the back end on
Mm-hmm.
this system. You can't get through. It's it seems like a lot more work than just getting your check, writing it, and sending it off.
Well, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Majority of the time, if there's something wrong on the back end, you're talking to something automated before you even get to the help desk. So
Well,
you're
and that's another thing.
you're
You
not
don't never
even
talk to a human. Talk to a human. That's right.
yeah. So you're talking to something automated before you even yelling and screaming to talk to a representative. Now, some places are quicker than others to get you a representative, yes, but a lot of times everything is automated because a lot of the questions can be answered before you get to.
But why so many questions with this so
No, 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 no.
convenient?
No, no, no. It's not
And
a.
if
It's
you
not.
read
I
the
just told you
directions,
why there's a lot of questions because people don't read.
well, even if they
I
read it,
can. I can give
maybe
you a
there's
prime
instructions.
example. The reason why you're getting most of the calls is from the elderly generation. That's where a bulk of your calls are coming from. It's from the generation, two generations ahead of you. I would say two
Mhm.
generations ahead of yours that isn't used to all this new technology,
Right.
and that's the generation that's usually stuck in their ways and don't want to adapt or anything like that. And so when something new rolls out, they're not used to it, they don't want to get used to it, and so that's what generates the calls to come in. That's
Which
majority of
generate
the time, at least from my experience when I was in a
right,
call center and stuff like that.
which generates jobs for you.
Mm. I'm not saying it didn't, I'm just saying that's usually where the
Right.
calls come
I'm
from.
saying so why why people, get upset about something that created the job for them.
Oh, I don't know. The people are illogical. We are illogical.
Just saying, if everything was easy, we wouldn't even need you there
I
at the
doubt
help
that.
desk. I wouldn't even need anybody at the
I
house.
doubt that. People make things a lot. People make things a lot harder than they need to be.
Oh yeah,
So it's always going to be
that's why we
needed.
have the
It's
healthcare.
always going to be needed because people make things harder than it needs to be. That,
So,
that's
so
what it
you should be
comes.
thanking them. You should be thanking
Thanking
them
who?
because the people who called me because that's why you got the job.
No,
Or you just want to sit there and don't get any calls
no,
and just get paid.
no, no. I'll take a couple of calls, but
You have to have patience.
it just depends. Look, there's two different. And you know this. There's two.
Patience.
I have patience, but when if it's the elderly generation, I don't mind helping them. But there's another set of callers that wear your patience out real quick, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's another group of callers that you can't sit there and woosah because they're calling you every other name under the sun, and you're trying to help them, but they're not listening to you, and you know this.
And that's what happened in Dubai. That's probably something that happened in Dubai. The
But see, you
fact that
can't do what
the
happened in
guy,
Dubai on the phone, though.
that's right.
You can't do that.
We need to start. We need to start that. Hey, this is the address for that number that called in and said, hey, curse me out. Handle that.
Right. So you can't do that. You got to sit there and take it.
I know. Even when they're in your face, you have to take it.
Right.
And it's not good even over the phone. You got somebody aggressively coming in your face, in your space, calling you everything but the child of God,
Right.
and you got to sit there and take it. And sometimes they even put their hands on you, throw drinks on you,
Yep.
things like that. It's, it's assault, really, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been going on here so long because these call center people and they want to rely on apps,
No, and
don't
don't
have
even
the
try to
patience,
say
don't
no.
have
No,
the patience to
no.
deal with
It's the
the
consumer that
situation.
doesn't. It's the consumer that doesn't have the patience. A majority of the people that I knew when I was in the call center were very patient. It's the point of where it gets disrespectful that the patience goes out the window. It's like we try to provide you options to help you, but you don't want to hear. It's not something you want to hear. You want to hear, oh, let me credit that, or let me do this. Let me do this instantly for your account, and it's something that usually that person's not able to do
Right, right, right.
as far as the
The
call center
limitations are
and
there.
customer service is.
Right. So, but if you didn't have an app and the person, the check didn't get there, they cut you off, right? And then you have to figure out how,
Mm,
get the money there or, you know, somehow to get it paid. And you don't have to worry about all that. Get, getting angry because you knew that nobody debited your account that
mhm.
money. So the check went somewhere, but it just didn't make it to where it's supposed to, and you need to write another one.
Or I mean, you could just do automatic payments that everybody tries to get you on, so that way your money just comes out on a set date every every
I don't
month.
suggest nobody do that
Oh, no, no,
ever.
no! I'm just saying that's usually the route that people try to push you in. It's just
Right.
like, oh, it's just sign up for bill pay. And it's like, huh? No,
No,
I want to see what amount is coming out before it gets
that's
paid, or how
right.
much I owe before I pay it, or whatever the case may be. But
That's
yeah,
right.
that's they're trying to streamline everything to make it easier. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily easier.
Mhm.
Understand the logic behind it.
Well, I understand their logic, but there's another logic that most people live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And any glitch, if something comes up unexpected, everything everything falls if you got automatic draft. Because if people living paycheck to paycheck, they're down to the penny by the time the next paycheck. So if something was a little higher than it was a month before, or for some reason it's just outside the limits, now everything else that hadn't been paid is defaulted on.
Right.
And now you paying late fees and overdraft fees and all. No,
Yep.
no, no. Like you said, I want to see it and I'll pay it.
Yeah. I
and
mean,
I'll send the money to you.
send it via check.
It'll be a check.
Send it via
It might
check.
take a while. It'll get there.
Your light gonna
It'll
be
get
off
there.
by the time it gets there.
No,
Mm.
no, no. But see, it's all about history. They know that if you got a good history of paying,
This is not the 1960s where you know the manager by first name basis. We don't do that. They
we know
don't.
your account. Hey, if you go to some place and says, "Hey, I've never been late before," and they say, "Oh yes, you was late X X X X." If when you say it, when I say it, they were like, "Oh yeah, you've never been late." Check it all.
Never been late. Switch it off.
Check.
Switch it off. Where's the money? Oh, we don't have it. Switch it off. Mm-mm. They may give you like one day, if that. Oh, you haven't been late in 10 years. Give them one day. You got 24 hours. Other than that,
Quick.
switch it off.
Nah. But yeah, because I'm telling you, I ran into the same thing during COVID. The mailing system was kind of screwy because they were routing things around, and I guess people couldn't come in.
Yeah,
You
of
know, the
course not.
postal
No.
service, the numbers were,
Yeah,
they had to come in, but it probably staggered.
yeah.
Like a few here, a few there. So yeah, and they're like, Jamal, you such a great guy. You don't worry
Oh, we
about
didn't
this money.
get turn it
Don't
off.
worry about it.
I'm not gonna forgive you
But
for all. Don't worry about this month. No, I don't know what world you living in. Oh, we didn't get that payment. 5 p.m. Oh, it's not here. Turn it off.
nah. But knock on wood, uh, that nothing got turned off. We worked it out. We worked
Yeah,
it out.
yeah. Until you move over to all the maps and everything, they force you to move over to self pay.
Uh, you think that minds up? Well, I don't know how it relates to kind of went there, but what what do you see in the younger generation that prompts this aggressive in you? Yeah, and I mean, you see it, and this guy outweighs them and all that, and they don't mind going toe to toe. A young lady going toe to toe with this guy that could crush her practically. Where's that boldness? It's coming from the youth,
Mm,
the younger generation. Where's that? Is that gray area, or
I
is it?
believe so. I think it's a little bit of that enabling, like not being told no. And I think that's where some of that comes from. They haven't been told no, or they haven't been disciplined. Because everything is. I kind of attribute it to everything's a participation trophy. I tie it in with that, so you don't know how to like hold your L's, or because I know a lot of times when you're in football, you don't talk back to the coach.
No,
You don't talk
no.
back to a coach.
Especially if you mess up, you just walk away, try to get away
You
from
don't
them.
talk back to the coach. So it's one of those. I think in those situations they haven't been disciplined on how to talk to or interact with people that may be their not necessarily superior, but their elder, or somebody who's in a
Authoritarian state
authority. Yeah,
position.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like teachers, like they don't respect the
Oh
teachers and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. Teacher said, close my door, and then she was gonna get her way before she did what he asked. And I saw this shoved, kind of like shoved her away from the door, and people went crazy. Oh, teacher pushed the student from the
right,
door. Well, that's his classroom. I mean, I don't. And like I said, I'm not condoning putting your hands on somebody, anybody. Um, but there's a boldness there that's scary. It's scary to the point where the scary part about it is when you see the parents of the people and how they try to downplay
that
the
is not
wrongness
serious.
in there. Yes.
It's not
Oh,
serious.
oh, Yes, they shouldn't have done that. They went too far when they, you know, this the mother comes on TV, the parents, and I've seen it on another thing we might talk about in the future. They come there and they coddle this. They nurture this attitude or this action,
Right.
and I'm thinking that's why we're getting what we get.
Right. 'Cause I mean, like I said, in a lot of instances,
Not
depending
my
on
kid.
I guess depending on where you're at, where you're living, sometimes your hands are tied as a parent because there's so many people looking, watching your kid, watching you watch your kid, essentially.
Mhm.
So if you
Okay.
do something that the general populace or your neighbors aren't fond of, you get the cops called on you
Well,
because people aren't necessarily not saying that they should mind the business all the time, because yes, there's some parents out there that shouldn't be parents, of course, and yes, to get the kids away from the parent. But if you're one in the right mind and you're trying to raise your kid the right way, then the other people should really just mind the business. Like,
that's right. You're not,
mhm,
you know, the kid stays clean, the kid's respectful, okay, and then one day he does something that could have injured himself, and then you spank the little hand,
right,
little hiney, and then you get um, social services calling on you to about child abuse, and it and I see coddling as child abuse because you're not addressing an issue that's potentially lead to jail in Dubai.
mhm, right.
I'm just saying.
Hey man, I
I'm
I, I,
just saying.
I kind of see it. There's two different ends of the spectrum where I kind of see this. I really don't see it a lot from the middle ground. But it's like
The
the
gray.
kids that the middle ground is what I mean. Like the kids like in my generation that grew up, decent, but they're not the what I see it more so like the group that's like well off, the silver
Mhm.
spoons. I see it happen
Okay.
on that end, and then I see it happen on the low end, like the kids that grew up in
I
low
get what you.
income, like that. But the kids in the middle, you don't really see that often. That's what I mean. It's like I see it on this end of the spectrum and then this end of the spectrum, but I don't see it in the middle. This is like the reverse,
That's right.
essentially. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it might be some. That might be a legitimate, yeah, um, way to see it because you definitely do see it on one end, you definitely see it on the other. But that middle class, I guess, the true middle class, you don't see it as much,
right.
if at all. So, well, it's definitely there in some cases, but
But majority
it's
of the time
just
when you see that, they come in. Oh, this kid is son of baroness or some oil tycoon or daughter of some movie star or something like that, or from it's just that's just usually where you hear, like, if you look at their background, that's where you hear it from. They're from some family that is a generational family, or a family that's essentially well off, or a from a family that mom may be working and not their mom may be there working double, 2 to 3 jobs, not able to raise their kid. The kid doesn't have really anything to look for as a guidepost as far as how to be, and then they just start acting out and stuff like that. So
yeah. Um, I take it. I'll just make it very simple that when, wh- and I've heard this somewhere, and I want to say the men, you kind of notice, and I'm just saying when a man is not in the home, um, and how it's important to have a man in the home because when the man brings something to that, a woman can raise a man to be an adult. A woman can raise a young lady to be no a young girl to be a woman. the father raises, when the father is there and the man is there, he helps that young girl become a lady, meaning not jumping up in the man's face, not how you talk, how you carry yourself. The father says, "This, you're not going to do that. I want my, you're going to be a lady. You're going to carry yourself like one." I'm
Mm,
not saying all cases that, but that's the importance of it. And when I see these interviews and I just see like one person there and it's all about excuses for the actions of an adult person, and, and then that man teaches that man that that young boy to be a man because he's a man. He should know how it is and what it takes to be a man. So the father plays a major role in that development of that young lady. He can't teach her, what I'm saying is a mother could teach her how to be a woman, but all the aspects of self-respect, how to carry yourself, how to deal with the opposite sex, that comes from the other opposite sex. What is appropriate, what is not appropriate. I mean, you have some idea, but you need that. You need that. And I'm thinking that's missing in a lot of these cases where either the man is taking a step back, even if he's in the home, and
mm,
not standing up in his role, saying, "No, you're not going to do this," or he's absent. He's not there. And and that's why we're getting what we're getting.
well, I mean, only time will tell what happens to the story in
Yeah,
Dubai. But
yeah. I hope we can get an update on that and see how that turns out. But no, just download an app and it's
ain't so all you promise. That's how you get your news now. You download an app, look on the app for your news, right?
yeah, right. But no, no, it was a good topic, and I just it's unfortunate that you get a set of rules, you go in another country, and that these people that people don't respect their country enough to say, "When you out of line, we're gonna deal with it." Like it's a lot of leeway here. There's a lot of gray area here in the U.S., but
Mm,
go in those countries that believe in religion-based countries, is another thing.
right. I mean, yeah, they're gonna have a safe area for you to hang out, and you can still do that. But once you go outside of that safe zone,
Mhm.
then you're kind of you're on your own if something goes on. Um, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that was it. That was it for me.
That was it.
So
Me.
hopefully next week, your topic will be of interest, and I don't fall asleep and take a nap.
Oh, this
Um,
was great.
that's what you say all the time. Uh, but we hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you all next week. And until then, we are out of here. Later, laters.